Welcome back everyone. Day 2 for the mobile application testing. Let's continue from where we left on day 1 and move forward. So primarily, very simple agenda for today. We will quickly review what we did in day 1 and then continue with our second session for the first project. Alright. So what we did as part of our day 1 was very simple. I gave an introduction for the entire training. What is it? How we're going to cover? What we're going to do briefly. And then we went ahead to start our first project. I said, what is the application? What are we going to be working on? What is the level of preparation that we're going to be doing, and so on. So at a high level, here are the different stages that we will walk through during the first project. All right. So now, team, before I move forward, let me give you a quick idea about what we're trying to do. Now, at any given point in time, you will see that applications go through different releases, right? So you have a release 1, then you have a release 2, then you have a release 3, and so on. What does this mean? What this means is that the application has changes, additions to the functionality, modifications to some existing functionality, and sometimes deletion of no more relevant functionality. And each time they make changes, they try and move it into production, the live environment, through this process of release. Okay. Now, when this happens, the entire testing activity is focused to make sure that each release is happening correctly. So at this time, there's a lot of testing activity that is done. Okay. So during releases, there is a peak load of testing. But when there is a gap between the releases, there is a lot of preparation that happens. What kind of preparations? Preparations in terms of preparing for the next release, getting your documentation ready, your test cases ready, your test data ready, and so on. All right. So at any given point in time, you will need to prepare an existing test case or test scenarios, the entire suite of testing that you'll need to be doing, and then make sure that you modify it accordingly before the next release. So in simple words, the message I'm trying to pass is these few steps that I've mentioned is an ongoing process. Okay, you may do the test planning at a detailed level one time, but you may do small modifications over and over again. At this point, we are doing it for the first time. So a lot of things are going to be put together into how we're going to be operating. Okay. And then when you get into the next release, you will then do simple modifications. So we are starting from our scratch, and then we're going to slowly go advanced into it. So no more PPT and all that. Let's go straight into the Excel, which is our working document. Here is where we started to put various sets of information of what we wanted to do. Now, quick look back again at the application that we were working. It was hotels.com. And what is it that we were trying to do, team? We were trying to make sure that hotels.com is the application that we are testing on what device? For this project, for this phase of it, we are looking at only an iPad, not even an iPhone or anything. The operating system is iOS, that is the Apple operating system, and a few more details about the project that we put. Okay. Now, as part of this, I said that here is a template for the test case and how we're going to be working with it. If you look at overall, team, now before I go deeper into it, let me so this is typically how we approach any application, be it a web-based application or even a mobile application. Now, at a high level, team, audience, you tell me, what do you think is very critical to test as part of mobile application testing? There are different devices, correct? They behave differently from your laptops and your PCs and so on. So what do you think is inherently different that we need to be treating things differently for this? Take some guesses. Let's start filling out what are the various aspects to test. So here I'm going to create something called as a checklist. Go ahead, please use the chat and start putting what you believe we should be focusing to test. Anything. You could be right, wrong, doesn't matter. It's just about, it's kind of a brainstorm that I'm doing right now. Functionality, absolutely, yes, right? So item and then status of it. So we need to test the functionality of the application, make sure it's working correctly, right? Accurate data. So one word at a time, please. Manpreet, just to let you know, if you put a question 3 times, it doesn't mean that you'll get an answer. You'll get an answer when I open up the Q&A session, okay? At this moment, we're going with the flow of the session, so that is what I will focus on. When I have a gap to take questions, that is when you can ask your questions, please, okay? Because then it will make sense overall on how we flow. User interface. Look at this. User interface. Why is user interface critical? User interface is always important because unless UI is basically what you see, how the application looks, how do the buttons look, how does the text look, are they in the right place, are they in the right font, is the image visible, is it loading? All of these things are very, very critical for any application these days. Some of these become more critical for mobile applications, and that is what we will look into. All right. What else is there? Legibility of the screen. So legibility is part of user interface, but I'm still gonna write it down. Legibility of the screen. What else is there? Let me know. Just random ideas. Okay. All right, Peter. Accurate data. I'll still put it as there because yes, it is critical that you need to have accurate data to be able to test. Some of these are pre-testing. You will try and make sure that you have these before you start testing. Some of this you will focus on as you go about in the testing process itself. What else is there? Performance. Perfect. Yes. How does it perform, right? Then acceptance. What is acceptance now, Andre? If you look at acceptance, it's a wide word, right? Acceptance testing is what? It could be user acceptance testing, which is the end sign off, which says that yes, we agree that this application is good to go into the final stage. So acceptance testing is fine. You will look into it at the end. Fair enough. I'm putting it. Some of these just fall under different things. I'm glad that we're just throwing different things. Performance of network. There you go. Now we're getting closer to more mobile devices. Network performance. What happens, Lopamudra? So this is a great thing because network performance. What happens if the applications are being tested on Wi-Fi and so on, right? All of these things. Security. Perfect. Right? Now you will see how these are different from other applications. I want you to keep this in the back of your mind. Loading speed, okay, loading time / speed, right? Thank you, Barnali. Transactions, load testing, transactions completed. So, okay, transactions completion. Could be part of functional testing because there you will definitely make sure that this is happening. All right. Platform independence. Okay, platform independence. What else is there? Different version. Okay, versions of not necessarily iOS, of OS and devices. You can have iPhone 2, 3, 3G, 4, 4S, 5, and then different versions of iOS itself. And then, so you have combinations of this, yeah, right? Usability, again, under user interface, we could put it under UI. Sachin, thank you. Memory size. Okay, see, look at the list of it. Now, these are all typically very critical for web-based applications. How is it that mobile applications are treated a little different? Now you see, team, as we go along, we are developing all of these templates from scratch because these templates are going to be coming extremely handy. This is just this beginning of developing these things, okay? When you get into your project, when you get into your practice and assignments, this will become very critical to you. You will realize that once you have the right approach to doing things, it becomes very easy for you to execute the projects. Now, if you look at mobile applications and if you look at the laptops and so on, the first thing that comes is the screens are different. The screen sizes are different. So basically the user interface is absolutely different, right? What you want to show has to be presented in a different manner, and this criticality is high, right? The functionality is medium. I'll tell you why the functionality is medium, okay? It is not that I'm trying to emphasize the fact that you should not do functional testing. You should absolutely do it. But the first thing that mobile application testers would try and focus is user interface. Make sure that they're performing correctly, okay? Are we able to open it and so on? Legibility of the screen, right? Make sure that the network performance is happening. For example, if I'm testing, okay, a website using, let's say, a Safari or a Chrome on a Dell laptop, right? Will I really bother to see if I am on a Wi-Fi or if I'm on a local area network or if I am on a, any other 4G hotspot connected? Not so much, right? Why? Because I'm not so bothered about those things for a web-based application. It is not that you won't. At the end of it, you will. But the priority is low. Okay. There are some things which are high priority. Okay. Security is also high. What happens if there's a banking application? Let's say, for example, Bank of America recently came up with take the checks over using your smartphone, take a picture of it and submit the checks online, right? I've not used it yet. I still would love to use it, but just the fact that it's so important to have the proper security for such features. The security aspects need to be definitely tested. Okay, loading time, speed of the application. You don't want them to be slow compared to other applications. These are very important. Okay, some of these things are very critical, team. Okay, not only this installation, all right, and installation, regarding the installation, then regarding interruption testing, all right. When you're working on your laptop, team, all right, what happens if someone is pinging you on Skype? Your browser will not get minimized in Skype coming in front, correct? Because you have a large screen, there is a taskbar on the side. You just see a blinking thing, you don't know the response, that's fine. You will see some kind of messages coming up. You will see an email popping up. No problem, that is fine. Let it happen in the background. We are not worried when you're working on your desktop or your PC or your laptop. But when it comes to mobile devices, this becomes important. Okay, what happens when you get incoming call? What happens to your application? Does it hang? Does it close? Does the user get signed off? Those things become very critical. Now, the reason I am telling you all this is I want you to keep this in the back of your mind. I do not want you to get worried about remembering anything right now. We will do that later. But however, when you're writing your test cases, we may change the format a little. This is typically how we'll write the test cases. Now you see what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the entire model of writing the test cases into a Word document. All right. I'm going to call this as same thing, MAT. Okay, project. I'll just say PR1. What is MAT? Mobile application testing, right? PR1. I'll say release 1. All right, project 1. Project 1 is basically talking of which application and so on. So instead of saying project 1, let's talk about this. This hotels, right? Hotels. Release 1. We still talk about release 1 right now. Test scenario 001. All right. This is a new document that I'm starting. Absolutely brand new. As we go about doing this, team, you will see that we will have created a final version towards the end of it. But now I will move my things from a Excel to the Word, and I'll tell you why this will happen. Okay. Again, you can retain things as they are, no problem. I have no issues with keeping it just with an Excel, but I'll tell you why this becomes a little bit more easier for us. And this is where all your expertise is really going to play it in. I'm trying to minimize it. Okay, let's see. Okay. give me a few seconds. I really emphasize a lot on format, because unless what you show has a clarity to it, there is a neatness to it, you won't have the interest to do a project on it. And this is the projects team. These are absolute projects. You are going to take this and implement it wherever you want. Okay, so at the end of it, these templates will become ready. So please bear with me on the time I'm taking to create this. So this is what it is. So the scope and module is here. Now what we're going to do is these things. This thing also we're going to translate it, and I'm going to put it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a notepad to take the content. Oops. And put it there. Control C. Control V. It's too much here. Yeah, see, this will become tough to do it. So that's why quickly insert a table. So I'm going to take the Word document and I'm going to insert a 2-column table, okay, with a few cells in it. So this will have one column which will describe what it is, and then the other one which has details. So here, now I'll say test case ID. What is the test case ID? Okay. Then I will have the test case name here. All right. So the columns that we had in the Excel, I'm converting it into rows in the Word because it makes sense for me. Okay. Prerequisites, all right, or what is expected to start before you start to execute a test case. Sometimes before you start to execute a test case, there is some expectation. Like in this case, I might say that app has been downloaded from iTunes or App Store. Okay. The other expectation is that app has been installed on iPad. All right. Then we will say that Wi-Fi setup has been created, or Wi-Fi, we can actually put it as an environment itself. And what will happen, team? This is going to become a test environment also, where you set testing and all that will come here. All right. What else was there that we put here? A few more things that will come back. Okay. Okay. Test steps. All right. Then I'll have expected results, actual results. All right. Alternate test flow. Now we will come to some of this slowly, but I just want you to slowly think through it. The process of executing a project is the most critical. Now, what is the test case that I'm doing? Auto recommend of place. Okay. So this is basically the test case name, right? We are trying to auto recommendation of the place, city, state. This is the test case that we have. Very important that we have such test cases existing because of the functional. This is a functional test case, but there is a lot to test from an UI standpoint also. So now here are the test steps. Go to hotels.com. No, what is it? Okay. Open iPad. All right. Launch hotels.com app from your, and this is what app, team? This is the native app from your wherever. Okay. From your iPad, wherever, from your iPad. All right. Then what will happen? 3. Start typing. Okay. Typing the city name. And here we're saying Los Angeles. And if we really need to expand, you can create a new row altogether that says test data and what it is. Now, the true reason of why I created this is this. Now, let me quickly open up iPad. Let's connect to it. So before that, where is my Reflector? Oops. Reflector. So team, you saw how we did the reflector thing in the last day one session, right? So that's where we're continuing from. So my reflector is on. Now back to my iPad. All right. And home screen, double click on it. Go to the AirPlay icon, which I'd shown earlier, and connecting as mirroring into the system. So there you go. System launched. Now, one of the other prerequisites, team, is hotels.com HT. Okay. Have we tested the other areas like the icons, how they look and so on? Not yet. But now we have this image, correct? I am going to take a screenshot of it, okay? Alt print screen, you copied it, and now we're going to paste it here, okay? So here I have pasted the screenshot of the application, and I'm going to say that this is the UI 1, and I'm going to say this is UI, let's say UI HTC, hotels.htdc, okay, 001. This is the image that I'm naming it as this. And all of these are standards that we will slowly understand why we're following, how we're following. Let me see if I can bring all of this into one page by reducing the header and footer size. Team, am I making sense so far what I'm trying to do? I'll start taking questions in about 5 minutes so you can get ready. Now, the reason I moved from Excel to Word is I have the ability to also put the images out here, right? So I can easily put images out here and show to the user, who is the user for this document, team? Can anyone tell me, please? Who is the user of this document? Tester, exactly, right? It is the test engineer, the mobile application test engineer who is the user. It is not the end user of the application. User of this document is the tester. So it becomes so easy for the testing team, especially in a global environment where you have teams working different locations or remotely from offshore locations and so on, for you to be able to collaborate with each other. Why am I taking the screenshots for a mobile application testing, and why don't we focus so much for a web-based application testing? Now comes your checklist and the criticality aspect that I was talking about. User interface is a very critical thing. Okay, that is the reason it is critical. Okay, interruption is very critical. Now, sometimes during this test, you can also say, okay, no incoming calls. All right, you can say or alerts. That is the setting that you're doing for this. The same test case, as an alternate of it, you will say that let's test the same thing again. Now, when a call is coming, of course, I'm not on an iPad, but let's say a Skype call is coming in, or a text alert from another app is coming in. Those things you can put it, all right? Now, we are also talking about, this is how the landscape mode is, okay? Now, what else is there? Expected results. So, see, it is now the approach of testing and not the actual testing itself that is becoming very essential. Okay, there you go. Now, start typing the name. Let's go back to the application. Where is the screen? Okay, there you go. So here, this is the application that we're trying to test, all right? So, LOS. Do you see this, team? Now you are getting the attributes out of it. Is the highlight going to happen? No. Preparation of test cases, authoring of test cases is one of the most key things for mobile application testing team. Okay. If we do not follow the right approach of doing it, then our output of testing is not complete. It is the most important thing for mobile application testing. Random testing, you don't need to really prepare for it. You will have to do it at the end anyways, okay? But you have to prepare the test case authoring. Now, I'm going to take a print screen of this as well. So I did an alt print screen on my keyboard, and I'm going to put this as the next picture. Okay, so I'm going to say this is TC001. That is the test case name, right? 01. Now the next picture is coming in, and this will be okay. UI HTDC, same thing. Team, we have about 4-5 days. All right. So as we progress, you will see that each day we're going to make progress. We're going to be going advanced into these areas of testing and how we're going to do. Each day we'll see a lot of new innovations on how we're doing it. Right. So let's see what else is there. So we put this, and what we're expecting, right? This is a simple functionality that we're seeing. For this functionality, team, this is enough, right? This is what we're expecting to see. This is how we would want to see. This is what it is right now, correct? Now, for the same test case, why don't I show a different orientation of the app and see if that can be done as well. Is it changing? The app is not changing the orientation when I'm changing it. It wants to stick to only one orientation. This is it. All right. That is how it wants to work, but that's the functionality for it. So now what we're going to do to finalize this test case, team, is a couple of things. You could do markings on where you want to focus on. Okay. So for this, what I could do is insert. You could do a simple shape like oval, all right, and just say that this is the focus area for you. Okay, now you could go back to home and view under format. I basically want to give the shape fill as no fill. I'm going to give the outline as probably whatever color you want to give. Okay, so I've just highlighted this to be yellow. This is the focus of what we're testing. So this is where we're going to be focused on. Is that coming up and so on. All right. Now, did I make sense, team, of the first test case that we created? So far, so good. Anyone, any questions? Team, any questions, please? Now is the time. You could use it. To start putting your questions in the chat, please. So I'm just finishing up, writing a few more things. What is the expected results? So that is one. What else are we expecting on the application? We are busy loading relevant content for you. Please stand by. See. So this message, this keeps coming up every time, right? So I'm just going to take a print screen and put this out here, right? Exactly. So we're going to say so same thing. This one we will say, and we can refer. See, now it is going to be all references in the document. So if image UI, if shows up, ensure that it does not take more than 5 seconds to go back to the original screen. So this is a pop-up, right? It is saying that original screen. All right. So this is a welcome message that was coming up. So I put that here. We are busy looking for relevant text. All right. And then there was another one which came up right now, and here it is. Welcome. Thanks for downloading our app. You need to turn on your location services in the settings. Okay. So this one will not come when we turn on the location settings, right? So make sure that that is also there as a prerequisite. Location settings need to be turned on. Okay, all of these are in preparation. What is that? Okay, UI HT DC TC001/03 will pop up. Alright team, so let me make sure that I save it. Now let me start taking a few questions and I'll come back to it. Okay, so which one was it? Manpreet, you were the one who started asking first a few questions. Let me get to that and then we'll come back to these questions now. Regarding the training, Archana, yes, thank you, you sent the thing. So how do you decide which network state, settings and interruptions for an app should be tested? I mean, how do you prioritize your test cases? Right. So now the prioritization is exactly what I was showing you here. Do you see this? You have to make sure that the same test case has been handled for the functionality. That is what we will eventually look at. But your orientation, your focus is more towards UI. How clear is it on the screen for me to look at things? How is the performance of it? What happens to the network and so on? So this version of this test case, this is what you're trying to focus on. That is your ultimate focus. Now, if you copy the same test case team, you don't need to change the images, okay? And put it out here and say this is test case 001, alternate, and in this auto recommendation of the place, city, state, and here we will say with location settings, okay, turned on. All right. What happens to the test case with the location testings turned off? What happens with the location settings turned on? So the same thing here. Okay. So here we'll say it needs to be turned on. For the first test case, we will say it needs to be turned off. All right. So these small things, team, will lead to creating of a very large catalog of your test artifacts, specifically focused on your test cases. Okay. Once you have a proper checklist, once you know what areas you'll focus on, then your approach will change. This is not a comprehensive list. This is work in progress, team. Please note. Okay. We have not completed our work on this at all so far. In any of this, what you will see is at the end of the first project, you will see the complete output of what you can take for use. All right. All right. Let's go back to questions quickly. Too many messages there. Okay, let's see. Fawzan, in testing steps, can we add, we can add iPad should be connected on internet or 3G or 4G. So now, sometimes what happens is the connection mode, absolutely, the network is also to be specified. So either you can specify the network up ahead or you can put and say that network state, okay? Now, when we come back in day 3 team, you will see that some of this become as a standard check your test case templates, okay? So you will see all. Here I'm saying irrespective of what it is. So we want to test it on a 3G, on a 4G, on a Wi-Fi, on a 2G if possible, on a hotspot, and so on. Okay. So that we're going to put. Do we need to check the text as well? Yes. So here, am I going to be worried about if check-in is there or nights is shown or this icon is shown and so on? No, that is not my focus. My focus is altogether only on this relevant area for now. Okay. What is the difference between native app and mobile web app? So native app is primarily all those applications that you download or install from your app store or Play Store and so on onto your device. Okay. Anything that you're using as a browser to get on and to start accessing an application, that is called as your regular thing. So now, for example, for hotels.com itself, you already saw, why is this screen freezing out even for a paid version of it? I have a paid version of Reflector. Why is it that it is still Freezing out after 10 minutes of use. That's interesting. Okay, no problem. We can probably exit it, and I believe we can restart. So team, I still have to finish all the questions that are being asked. So give me a quick minute, please. All right, here we go. So on this application, what was it that I was saying? So the same thing, if I try and use the browser, okay. Oops. And I go to, for example, all right, hotels.com here. This is not the native app, okay? Any application that you're downloading onto your system is your native app, okay? So this is a completely different thing. So what you're trying to do is absolutely for the native app, and that also should be clearly mentioned either out here, which is overall for this document. Some of these are for overall for this document. This is not the only test case. You'll have a lot of test cases in this document. Some of the details are specifically for your test case. So anything that's specific to that specific test case or scenario, you can put it in this table. Anything that is common for this entire document, you put it here, okay? App type. And here, I'm going to write this as native app, okay? Sometimes you'll say native/web app, or there are hybrid apps that are coming up these days and so on. So we will put that also. Sam, yes, you can put it in the prerequisites as landscape mode, or you can also ignore it because it seems to be a common thing as an application that you see. Okay. Let's see. In testing steps, we can add device should connect it to the internet. Yes. So we already said where it should be connected, right? Network state all. So you want to test it immediately on 3G, then you go back, you remove the 3G access on that, and then test it again and so on. Unfortunately, if I do a Wi-Fi, if I remove my Wi-Fi access, this iPad screen will not get shown on Reflector. Since my laptop and my iPad are on the same Wi-Fi, that is the reason I'm able to use the AirPlay feature. How? Double click your home button, you will see the taskbar coming up. Slide down, you will see this specific icon besides the forward and the volume button, between the forward and the volume button with the blue thing. That is the icon that you need to use, okay team, for AirPlay to get the display on to your system. I need to use it specifically for the training. I mean the content of the text displayed while we are typing, not the text on the screen, correct? So exactly. So now the content of the text becomes also very critical. So let's go back to this application. Let's make sure that on settings, what is it that I wanted to set? Networks, right? Okay. Which is the one that I wanted to set, team? Location settings. Any idea where this location settings are? Should be here. Bluetooth. Anyone? Location settings? Give me 1 quick minute, please. I need to take this call. Okay. All right. So what was I saying? Location settings. Where is it? I don't know yet. But let's come back to this application. Let's. It should be somewhere here. General, VPN, series, about usage, privacy, brightness and wallpaper, cloud, maps. Location services. There you go. On. All right. So now I have switched on the location services. So hotels.com, do you see, is one of the app that is expecting to have the location services turned on. So I'm going to turn it on for hotels.com specifically. Okay. Then I'm able to go back to the app. All right. And now it is trying to verify that the location settings are being set up. Okay. All right, see, now with the location settings turned on, here is the expected view of it. And this has to go back for the test case where the location settings need to be tested. All right, and you put that image, alt print screen. All right, and give it a name. So team, this is how we're going to go about creating a few test cases. And by the time we finish the first project, you will note and you'll notice that we have created a very huge document. We have gone through at length the different aspects that need to get tested. Now, this is what we're trying to scratch at the very beginning. We have to continue to go deep. So I don't want to focus any more on today's session than what we've done right now, team. But what I want to recommend is before we get into day 3, which is going to be next week, I would definitely want you to go through some of the videos that are there in the premium membership portal later. Okay. So before we end the session, let me finish up with all the questions that have come up. Let's see. Native app, yes. If it's correct or not. For example, if we type LOS, is it showing POS or terms of services? Okay. So all of these things team become very important. So I've clicked on search, back to the application, Los Angeles, and this is just one set of data, right? Now do you see, team, with this, the whole aspect has changed. Use current location is the first thing that needs to get shown up, all right? So this is where it becomes very important from a UI perspective. This is a functionality also, but where is it shown? How is it shown? Becomes very critical because of the users of this document. So I put this screenshot also here. Now we can use this. So team, this is all project execution, and I want to emphasize the fact that this training is going to be project-based training. What you're going to learn is going to be as part of a project itself. It is not going to be something theoretical that I'll keep approaching towards each concept. All right. So Archana, yes. So testing, exactly what do you expect? Should it be the starting, or can it be in between, and so on, becomes very critical for your search term as you continue to write. Okay. In testing steps, we can add device should be connected. Yes, so that is done. I mean the content of the text displayed while we are going, not the text on the screen. While we are typing. Correct, you're right. So that's what we put there. Yes, so the state that you have, all right, is much easier for us once we put it as part of the prerequisites. Okay, that becomes very important. Are incoming calls or alerts allowed on the device at that time, and so on. Now, can't we put print screens in Excel? Absolutely, why not? But look at the trouble to do it. Okay, number one, the orientation itself is very different. You can always go and say insert a picture. Okay, or the same thing that you copied, you can just oops, not here. You can copy a picture and put it up there. But just the location of where you put it and how you put it becomes very important. All right. Sometimes what people do is put the picture and resize it to a small size. What I want you to be able to do is, one project we're going to use Word, the other project we will get to more Excel based approach. That way you have various ways of evaluating it. All right. All right. So what else is there, team? Any other questions before we end the session? All right, great. So that's it for today. In that case, what we will do is we'll continue with day 3. I want to make sure that you have all the setup done at your end also. Make sure that you get the app, get acquainted to it, and so on. The details about the next session and so on will be sent out to you through the email. So please stay tuned. You will see the details mentioned on it. You have to start going to the website, please, and start to watch some of the videos that I've been mentioning. It becomes very critical for you before we meet again. So the reason being, there is so much that has been focused on for a long time that you need to really get deeper into. Let me quickly walk you through what I expect you to at least try and get an overview idea. There are about 6 hours of content overall, so even if you sit for 2-3 hours a day, you can easily finish watching all of these videos in about 3-4 days. So go back to mobile testing videos. Here is where the old videos are. The entire introduction, again, you can skip some of this because we've covered it. But if you look at how I've approached Android applications, all right, how we install Android SDK and so on, all of these things will be very interesting. It's a different perspective, not as an emergency, all right. You can scan through some of these. It will give you a great insight before the next one. Finally, the videos for the current webinar that are going on will be hosted on the website directly. So mobile testing, live training, that is where you need to be going. And here you will see the day 1 session has already been placed. You can start watching the day 1 video here. There is an issue with the pop-up plugin, but you can always do a full screen by just scrolling down. All right. So once the video starts playing, you can do a full screen out here. All right, thank you everyone. Appreciate once again for you taking your time joining the session. We'll see you back in day 3. Take care all. Bye then. Thank you.